What is up, my fellow hood boys? I am Trey the Virgin, joined as always by, and I can't wait to see who responds to this, my homeboy, Doughboy.
That's right, it's me, it's Doughboy. At the end of the day, the thing that we've learned from all of our experiences here in the hood is you have to love your brother. You gotta come together. You gotta not be afraid of the white man, and you can't give in to the influences that pervade our society.
What's that song that goes, come on, love your brother? Because I think they should update the lyrics, like, don't be afraid of the white man. Like all that stuff you were saying. Yeah. We need to plug him in. Mm-hmm. Which character should our next person be, Mr. Doughboy?
Eggy's furious.
Oh my god. Furious Styles?
Yeah. Eggy's your dad.
He might be dead. I don't hear him.
Oh, damn.
Nah, I was just in my other room, I was looking over my papers and everything, but I heard you youngsters getting up to something possibly, rambunctious, so I just gotta tell you like this, man, the world already against us, my brother, make sure you're making a wise decision in life, you know what I'm saying? Peace, but peace to you, but peace, I'm in the mix as well.
Hey, Eggy, I shot these people, can you take this gun?
I'm going to do that solid for you, my brother, but you got to make better decisions than that. That was not somebody who you needed to do that to, because now the repercussions, you can't even fathom that at the age you're at. You're not really even a man. You just stepped into a man's shoes. These shoes are big, brother. You got small feet, so your feet ain't grown yet. You ain't walked enough steps yet, man. You ain't walked enough paths in life to get those big feet, my brother. You understand that?
Erich, do you have a dueling Larry Fishburne impression? Or what? Is that the actor's name?
It is Larry Fishburne, yeah. Lawrence. I really don't. I'd have to work on it. I'd have to go into the lab.
It is a little distinct. It's not as good as the other black characters that you like to pull out.
Oh yeah, I'm really famous for my black voices, aren't I?
Why does the Wikipedia have Lawrence Fishburne as Larry Fishburne? I was like, that doesn't look right. Like, I know I recognize this dude.
He went as Larry for a bit, I think.
Oh, okay. But now he's like a mature older man, full-on Lawrence. Well, this is a Boyz in the Hood 1991 movie directed by John Singleton, his debut film. He was, I believe, 22 or 23 when he directed this. So
Jesus.
Extremely impressive as a debut film, nominated for Oscars. I think he was nominated for like Best Original Screenplay and Best Director. Yep, yeah, on Wikipedia. And I had never seen this before, and neither had Erich, but Eggy won the election bet. And since the PCP did not vote for this film, it finally was redeemed on Is It Kino? So Erich, I'm dying to know, what did you think of... Oh man, I had a joke ready. Give me 1 second. Erich, I'm dying to know, what did you think of Mickey's Twice Upon a Christmas?
Terrible movie. The CG animation does not work. They should not have tried such a bullshit thing this early into CG animations.
I just want to make something clear. It is it's 11:30 in the morning where I am, and it says you logged this movie on Letterboxd today. Did you wake up at 8 a.m. and watch Mickey's Twice Upon a Christmas?
I work nights, so I'm like at work at like 3 a.m. and I'm watching Mickey's Twice Upon a Christmas. In November.
Yeah.
Got to get ahead of it, you don't want to sit there. Right. There's so much to do in December. You don't want to be having Mickey on the back burner.
That's right.
1.5 stars.
Yeah.
How many stars did you give Boyz in the Hood?
4 stars. I think it's a very good movie. I think it's like really well made. Like knowing that this is the first movie that this director shot is wild. He's very talented. I don't think that Too Fast, Too Furious really encompasses his talent. So he's definitely going to go on to do less good things. But
well, some people, I was reading some Letterboxd reviews, and some people think John Singleton should have made a John Single movie and just left it at this.
Oh.
Maybe I don't know. Would that have been better for his legacy? Does he make anything half as good as this, Eggy?
Yeah, I mean, he's got Baby Boy. He's got 4 brothers. Those are both extremely critically acclaimed.
Oh, is that Marky Mark?
Baby Boy.
4 brothers? Or was that 3 Kings? I'm thinking
4 brothers is, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I do believe Old podcaster on Is It Kino, the original co-host Cobb, said that Four Brothers is like one of his favorite movies. So maybe I'll have to check.
Really?
That out.
Wow.
He loves that Marky Mark.
It is. It's some Kino. I just gotta say it right off the bat. I think that Boys in the Hood is a very culturally relevant film, especially to the time period, and it's also a very good film. But I think Four Brothers, I don't know, I haven't seen it in a few years, but it might hold up even a little better for me. But just my opinion there.
Should we give everybody a synopsis of this film in case they are not aware of it? It's basically all the black actors you know and love are making at least either a debut or an early appearance of their career here. We've got Ice Cube, Cuba Gooding Jr., Lawrence Fishburne, as we said, and then a bunch of women I probably should recognize, but I can't really be bothered.
But we love them all the same. They all do very well. There's no halfway performances. They're all very passionate.
That's why God is a bitch.
And I would say this is basically your standard slice of life anime with a 7-year time skip after Act 1. And you just see what it's like for these boys growing up in the hood, checking out dead bodies. It's really more of a character piece than a story piece, which, I was a little upset about in the second act, but then it does pick up a lot in the third. And I'll get into some nitpicks as we go on. But overall, powerful emotions on display and some great actors finding themselves at a young age.
You gave it 3.5 stars on Letterboxd, which means you fucking hate it, right?
No. If somebody thought that my 3-star Moana review was too low, so it's in my mind, 3 stars means it's good enough to watch again, and in half a star means I think I could make a better movie than this. 1 star means you're still better than me, but this is dog shit. Half a star means I could literally do better.
Yeah.
Go check out my reviews. See who I'm better than.
The half stars are really important there.
No, I mean half star is in like a 1 out of 10.
Oh, I thought you meant if you gave it 3.5 stars, that half star is.
No, that wouldn't make any sense.
Brilliant movie that I would.
That's just straight up retarded.
I would rewatch. However, I could make a better movie.
Yeah, not quite, but close.
Your 4.5 review of Avatar is interesting in that way. Telling James Cameron I could make a better movie.
I think I gave Avatar 4 actually. I don't know if I gave it 4.5.
Okay.
But I did give Flow 5 stars, the only 5-star movie of the year so far. Go check it out, folks.
Flow. Is that streaming somewhere? Can I watch that?
Ironically, no, Flow is not streaming. But I did find it on the illegal streaming website. It's an animated film with no dialogue about a cat surviving a flood. It's beautiful.
Wow. Okay.
But
this year's kind of been weak for movies, so
extremely weak. But Boys in the Hood opens with, I'm not going to say it's a red pill, I'm going to say it's dropping a black pill, okay? If this movie was made today, the opening text would say, every single black man who ever lived was murdered by a white police officer. But this film, it was made in the early 90s, okay? It's made by a guy who was not even 25 yet, his prefrontal cortex, whatever the fuck, it's not developed. He's allowed to still have real thoughts. And he opens his movie with some crime statistics, Eggy.
I believe that is correct. I think he's talking about that there's every so often, very frequently in America, a black man is dying. And what's more than that is that it's always from another black man.
Yeah, 1 in every 21 black men will be murdered, and most of them are by the hands of another black man, he said.
Does that statistic still hold water? Is that still true in this?
Do you think it's worse today or better today?
I think it's better today.
Well, it breaks down geographically, like in certain areas, it's less than it used to be, but there might be a higher incidence of maybe a drug addictions or some other thing that's a negative impact on the environment. In some areas, I think probably in the sort of area where this took place, there was ethnic cleansing that went over in the last 20 to 30 years where a lot of Hispanics were coming from Mexico into South America and did race wars with the black residents of these areas and would basically go like door to door looking for black residents to kill them.
Whoa!
Where there's like gang wars and stuff going on. Like they basically, how we see in this film, there's a Bloods and Crips combat, which is two African American gangs. Later in this geographic area, in this region, there was a large presence made by Mexican gangs to take turf, to take drug money, or maybe they might be working. They might still be an African American gang, but they might be working sort of coordinated underneath a Hispanic gang who has more of the drug territory or the drug route control from South America. And then they're basically working and helping to distribute the drugs or control territory. But yeah, there's precedence for some ethnic cleansing towards in a racially based warfare between the Black and Hispanic gangs there, which is why later on, or maybe even simultaneously, they had sort of a Black and Brown unity movement in order to try and reduce the violence there, because I believe the Hispanic gangs were tallying quite the body count relative to how many Hispanics were being shot by Black gangs.
So when Lawrence Fishburne is giving a speech about our streets, we're not the ones who are bringing the drugs here. We're just the ones selling them. We're the middlemen. So is he referring to Mexicans, or who's he blaming for that?
Well, I would imagine at the time frame he's probably talking about Ronald Reagan and the Iran-Contra or whatever it was. Reagan was bringing the crack to the hood. The CIA.
That's pretty much confirmed at this point, right?
Yeah, Freeway Ricky Ross.
Was that well known at the time, or was this movie ahead of its time?
I think it was in the time it was kind of seen as a conspiracy theory. When I think we were a little bit less likely to say the government was up to such malicious things. But
was the intent to destroy the Black community, or to get more Black people arrested so that they would have slavery in prisons? What was Ronald Reagan's aim here?
Really, you could probably look at it either way. I think objectively there was a desire for that sort of free labor that incarceration can provide. I think they just, even now, right now, the most previous, election in California, they had something on the docket where they voted to remove the ability for prisoners to be used as a free labor source, and people overwhelmingly, it's overwhelming, but they did decide to vote against that amendment or whatever. So it is still legal in the state of California for prisoners to be basically worked to the maximum to generate profit for the prison by breaking rocks with pickaxes or whatever prisoners do to make money for the prison. So they just had a chance now, just again, to say, oh, no, we're not going to basically still have prisoners making us money. But they said, no, actually, we do want that. And, maybe there's a reason that they sought to do more incarcerations of the impoverished for that reason.
Good way to get all the homeless people a job in California.
I suppose that's better than sleeping on the street, right? I don't know what breaking up rocks is all about. I see it in a lot of prison-based media, but maybe it's
what are they breaking? What kind of rocks?
Is that just from cartoons? Don't they make license plates or something? Why would they be breaking boulders with a pickaxe out in the prison yard?
There's got to be real rocks that need to be broken.
Are they miners?
It's got to be true.
Listen, what I'm saying? When we're in the streets, we're breaking down different kind of rock, and now the white man got us over here breaking up this kind of rock. Shit, it's just rocks on rocks.
Okay, let's dive into the movie. The opening act, we see all the main characters as kids. They're 10, living. I thought the neighborhood looked kind of nice. Is this supposed to be a hardcore ghetto? Lawrence Fishburne's little neighborhood? It gets pretty nasty and full of trash when they walk around, but residentially it looked pretty nice.
I don't know if that's a California city code or how exactly they enforce this, but historically speaking, Cali hoods are more well kept. It's more of they're just a little bit clean over there because down south and maybe up in Michigan, in certain places in the streets, they got these trap houses where it's kind of the bandos, the boarded up houses that are foreclosed on. That's where they're kind of running in and out of with the drugs. Cali, they just kind of, they're known to be keeping it a little bit cleaner. Everything's looking a little bit nicer, but at the same time, they will handle their business at the same time. So I don't know if that's just a California thing that they have maybe more money over there. They're generating more revenue in the state, so maybe they have more street sweepers to go out and keep everything fresher. But that's pretty typical, though.
California knows how to party.
And I think the impression I'm supposed to take away from this opening act with the kids is the dark irony of what they are experienced and knowledgeable about at such a young age, where they're casually talking about getting shot and, I'm going to shoot you, my brother will shoot you. They're looking at dead bodies like it's no big thing.
My dad will shoot you. Like, yeah. It's just an endless group of people who will shoot each other.
And that's juxtaposed with them, like, talking about how they don't know their multiplication tables, like stuff that an 8-year-old should know. They don't know. They know the streets, the street thug life instead. And that's really nailed into us for about 30 minutes.
That's true.
This is my favorite part of the movie because I really like little kids.
Sure. Yeah,
I think
we got the fat kid.
I did, yeah. The fat kid is cute.
We got the football kid.
Trey doesn't look like Cuba Gooding Jr. yet, so.
Well, I mean, there's a 7-year time skip, and then they all age about 20 years. Like, I refuse to believe Ice Cube is 17 in this movie. Maybe he was, but he'll always look in his 30s to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing, is that when you go so far forward, but it's only actually 7 years, but Cuba Gooding Jr. looks like he's been in his 30s for a couple years.
Yeah, they all look old as fuck. Is that... How can we look up how old they were? Is that part of the commentary? Is that we think that black men look way older and scarier than they are, and that's why they're getting treated so poorly?
Well, I'm looking it up. I believe I'm going to approximate the filming dates. So I think Cuba Gooding Jr. would have been 22. Ice Cube would have been 21, approximately.
Jeez. God, I must be a young-looking buck, because it blows my mind when I see people 10 years younger than me right now that I would swear have to be older than me.
Well, I will say it's a little bit, I don't know, because Lawrence Fishburne was 29 years old here, and his son is 21. So, I mean,
what?
I know it goes a little wild in the, I'm saying, in these streets.
That
sometimes,
is
you don't know
so
what's
crazy.
going on, but, it's actually, that's another epidemic.
I'm the same age as Lawrence Fishburne in this movie. That is heartbreaking. God, he was sexy in this movie.
Hey, you know what? Brains over brawn, you know what I'm saying? Education over incarceration, you dig what I'm saying? We'll get you what do you call that? A tuki or whatever? The hat they wear, the cultural hat. You know what? We're going to get this brother some knowledge. No, kufi, I mean, yeah. Is that a Muslim thing?
I was say a what? Okay, a kufi. Okay.
So the boys in the hood, they go look at a dead body. Football kid is like, hey, I'm going to bring my football. And they're all like, no, don't bring your football.
It's so funny. Like, you can directly parallel this movie to like Stand By Me or something like that, where it's like as a very
that's like a life-changing moment for them.
Yeah.
And for this, it's like, hey, want to see another dead body I found in the hood?
Mm-hmm.
But they run into some real hoodlums. These older teenage boys. They steal the football. And the fat kid who grows up to be Ice Cube, we learn his fatal flaw here. It's that he's going to fight to protect his brother no matter what. He's going to fight for that football even though he's getting his ass beat by these kids, teenagers twice his size, not fat-wise, but height-wise. And and after 7 years in juvie, 7 years in juvie didn't change him other than aging 20 years into Ice Cube. Because ultimately, like, the same shit happens again in Act 3, and then they're all just dead.
I want to go to jail and turn into Ice Cube. That would rule.
Yeah, but then you get out and you get killed like 3 weeks later.
Yeah, I don't want that.
Yeah.
Okay, I kind of want to. Since you said it, I need to kind of like skip ahead to that. When it said he died 2 weeks later, I thought that was a little bit funny. Like,
yeah. The text on the screen, like, you don't even get to see it happen.
Yeah, it's just the text on the screen that says it. I'm just like, I feel like that's such a trope thing at this point that I couldn't kind of contain my.
It's how a comedy movie would end these days, is you have like the little blurb about each character, and it's always the most extreme, stupid thing you could think of. I think they did that in Dewey Cox. Dewey Cox died 2 minutes
Animal
later
House.
on stage.
I think they did that in I Was the Dancing Baby, as I recall.
Yeah, I think he committed suicide, and the audience was not for it. Big blunder in that film.
He got booze.
No wonder why they got second place.
The initial screening of Boys in the Hood, when it said that Ice Cube died 2 weeks later, I bet it was the exact same reaction. People are often misunderstood in their time when they're trailblazers. Okay, it is what it is.
So instead of bursting out laughing like Erich, they gasped in horror like our audience did for our film. What are some other things? We've got the dark-skinned black police officer who is the most racist man in the movie, and he's always putting his gun up to little black boys and saying, I want to wipe this N-word off the streets. One less N-word on the street. Like he doesn't know what he is, Eggy. It's disgusting. What a hypocrite. Uncle Tom, if you will. Officer Tom, you could say.
He's almost like the polar opposite of like where... I shouldn't say it quite where Lawrence Fishburne's character stands here, right, where Furious is at, but like Furious Styles, he's very, he's a Pan-African man, just like my good friend Dr. Umar. He's really educated about the struggle.
What does Pan mean here?
Pan-Africanism is a movement which is basically unity of all African peoples across the entire world together. So it's like, one struggle kind of thing, all African peoples.
Well, the beginning of this movie...
Even South Africans?
In this movie, they say actually the original man was in Africa, so everybody's from Africa. So ideally, it's the unification of all humans. Pan-Africanism.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's pretty true.
Because we're all African according to this film.
I don't believe the Pan-African movement sees it quite that way, but you know what?
They need to get woke or they're going to go broke.
But actually, it's good... I think about it now, there's actually a point at the beginning of the film, pre-time skip, where Furious Styles and the racist black police officer, he's like, hey, you know what? It's all love, my brother. It's all good, my brother, no matter what, even if... But I think that, from this police officer's perspective, for what he is written into the film, he seems very abrasive, just outwardly, like putting guns up in your face, just somebody you can never sympathize with. But, when you think about it, when he was a young boy, he probably had a sort of righteous indignation, like he was really trying to go on the right path. And if you were growing up around, a bunch of doughboys out here who are just, ready to pop that 9 for anything, he probably just bore a grudge against that, because not only was he being targeted just objectively like, oh, hey, what's up, Buster? I'm going to bust you. But this sort of environment also would have impeded him from being successful. So he almost had to go on edge more against his environment and against the people who were of him and like him. And maybe this sort of got, as he got older and had to continue dealing with this, he just became furious. Every time he sees Cuba Gooding Jr. riding his bike around, he thinks about, the kind of delinquents that were holding him back from his dreams. And he just unleashes his rage because he just can't deal with it any other way. So there's a little more there maybe than what even might meet the surface when you think about it.
Do we get any sort of resolution to his character? I just remember he's like 2 moments where he comes in and he's really mean and threatens people. Like, does he ever get his comeuppance or anything?
Right. Why would he need comeuppance?
Yeah. That's fair, Erich. Well, do you have any other thoughts on this cop then, Erich?
Oh, I thought you were talking about Furious, not
no.
The cop. The cop fucking sucks.
Okay, sounded like you were defending him for a second. I was like, okay, I guess so.
No. This oftentimes happens. You'll see, the black cops are the worst. They're the most mean to everyone involved because they suddenly have power. They suddenly have influence within the system, and they're going to take that out on others. So it's just an unfortunate fact of life.
When they say not all cops are bad, we just mean like those are the bad ones and the rest are good. Like,
so you're saying all the white cops are actually...
Yeah, all the self-hating black cops are the real bad ones.
Well, they do seem to be the real racists. I mean, I'm just saying,
He was the most racist guy in the damn movie. Let's talk about my favorite character, and if we're going to do a tier list, I think this is the top of S tier. That is the crack whore who has her 1-year-old baby walking around in the street dodging traffic.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you can dodge traffic at 1 year old, you're going to be a prodigy.
Cuba Gooding Jr. brings the 1-year-old baby up to her, and he's like, "Hey, man, you can't have your baby running in the street anymore. It's going to get killed." And she says, "Hey, I'll suck your dick for some crack." Like, that's her immediate response. Does not care about her own kid. And according to Wikipedia, John Singleton very much did base everything in this movie off of his life experiences. So I have to imagine this is a very real person who's out there. There's probably millions of people like this. Eggy, now I don't want to pry too deep into your history. I know you have I don't know every drug you've done, but I know it's a long list. Have you ever had that sweet, sweet crack so you can know where this lady is coming from?
Well, I mean, I gotta tell you, I have an addictive personality, but, crack just never was really, crack and methamphetamine. It's like, I got like bad receptors for them. It's just like, it's too much. It's just like I just get, I don't get the good crackhead strength, or I ain't washing windows, or, working on your car or whatever. I'm chomping and breaking things with my teeth and repeatedly punching myself in the head and like sweating a lot and like walking back and forth.
Cool.
That might have just been overdoses, because when I overdosed on heroin, I kind of felt, a little, it was like a very hot, like feverish sickness. I don't know. Drugs are bad, kids, okay? But, with the line of "I'll suck your dick for some crack," this was the first utterance, I believe, in film, so this was really a cultural hallmark.
I do believe that she won an Academy Award for the reading of that line.
Wait, this movie did?
Yeah, that actress, she won an award.
Was she in this for like 2 minutes? What the fuck?
Suck your dick for some crack. It was just such an impactful role, like, really spoke to a generation of women.
So I guess basically you cannot relate then, Eggy. You would not suck any dick for crack? Because me and Erich were getting hopeful.
We were ready.
Yeah, we got our crack ready, but I guess we'll have to give it to somebody else.
There's an episode of Soft White Underbelly, and it's really, I think they got like 3 or 4 episodes of this guy, but he's like this guy who's like an accountant or something for some place in Los Angeles, makes a lot of money, and he would stay awake for like 4 or 5 days at a time, and he would get off of work and he would go down to Figueroa Street, which is like the main prostitution drive down in like by Skid Row, and he would pick up like 2 prostitutes and they would go to a motel and all smoke crack together, and he would just like watch like porn on TV while they suck his limp penis for like 8 hours straight, and he'd just like pay them however much, and then he would like do this all day and not sleep and then go back to work again.
Not sleep. Incredible.
Said that he pawned his own like he drove down there and he didn't have any money, so he like just gave his car away to a pimp. He like just handed in the keys, and like I don't know what he did with the title or whatever, but he said he was gonna like handle that. Just
he
like,
wanted him to pimp his ride, I think.
It's a pretty interesting. I forget what his name is. But if you look up like he's like crack addicted Trick or something on Soft White Underbelly. Because he eventually got his life back together. He came back like 6 months later and he had his life all clean. But every time I think about like crack and prostitutes, I just think about his story, like sitting in the Motel 6 with the prostitutes high on crack. Just like
he was just going through a phase. That was his
complete
sit in a hotel all day
phase. Yeah.
Do you remember the scene in a Serbian film where Milos' brother is doing that exact same thing, but he's watching like birthday party footage of his family?
Well, unfortunately, yes.
What? Now that's a 4.5 star movie, and I don't think I could do better.
Well, see, I think there's something I need to tell you guys about this Boyz in the Hood film that you might not know. This film is actually more real than you might know.
You lived it?
Oh. Well, yes, of course, but I don't think it's a real spoiler alert here. It's a very well-known, possibly the most infamous scene of the film. Ricky, he's getting everybody out there to play football. But due to the gang violence, the nonsensical gang violence, the Bloods roll up on Ricky as he's in the alley. They roll down the window, produce a shotgun.
Blam, blam.
Ricky dead.
Blam.
Right there in the alley.
Now, was this not Ice Cube's fault for instigating it with that guy earlier?
Well, you got to be by your respect, like if you just let them punk you, you know what? I mean, they would, then they think you're weak. So
if he took the lesson that Shanks taught Luffy in Chapter 1 of One Piece, his brother and him would both still be alive.
Wow.
A lot of gang violence would be resolved.
I think every gangster needs to read One Piece.
I'm sorry, Monkey. I'm sorry, but One Piece was not written yet. There was no possible way they could have gotten that lesson.
Oh God,
it's just
you're
really
right.
tragic.
It had never been taught until then.
Yeah, exactly.
Choose your battles.
That was undiscovered knowledge.
Thank you, Oda, for inventing this moral.
But I say that to say the man who, in that scene, produces the shotgun out of the window is a man named Lloyd Avery Jr., who, about 13 years following the film's release, went to prison for shooting 2 men to death.
Oh.
And then was killed in prison.
Oh no!
Damn.
No
So
redemption for him.
Just a movie scene. You thought this was just, acting. No, this was a man who, he was a real shooter. He really lived this life. He literally did what he did in the movie. He did it in real life.
Yeah, that's pretty hardcore. How many other actors are actual criminals? Like, there's that guy he's in Low Res's new movie. The guy who died recently, Buddy Duress. Like, he's a real criminal who was a good actor. Is there anybody else who committed the crimes in real life that they did in the movie?
The Mexican guy, Danny Trejo.
He beheaded somebody?
I don't know that he beheaded somebody, but he was a criminal.
Put his head on a tortoise? Hola, DEA. Hey, speaking of DEA, we got to talk about the drug problem, okay? How come in this neighborhood there's a gun store and a liquor store on every corner? How come there's not elementary schools?
People want to buy guns and people want to buy liquor. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, you clearly need those things to survive in the hood.
Questions seem pretty self-evident just because if people want liquor and people want guns...
But in that same scene, Larry Fishburne, he brings up a very good point. He's like, hey, man, we need to keep our black communities black. How come the Jews get to keep their neighborhoods Jewish and the Italian, blah, blah, blah. He's advocating for... ethnic fascism, Erich? Is that the idea? Ethno-fascism? Like, let's keep it black, let's keep it Jewish. The only people who can't do this are white people. It's okay for everybody else. Is that the idea?
They just don't want people to be bringing their white businesses.
They want some homogeny within the culture? Interesting. Well, would that even work, Eggy? A cultural that's not a melting pot? I don't even want to be there. I bet their food is disgusting.
Yeah, but this is all the finest soul food that's going to be in this neighborhood right here. You know what I'm saying? From all over the place. There might not be any Ice Cube seasoned mayonnaise, but it is what it is. But no, it's just like I kind of said, because I don't feel like it's quite equal to say that Lawrence Fishburne was on like the total opposite spectrum of the racist black cop, but he's sort of out here like, whereas the cop is like, oh, you dirty criminal little punks, we need to get rid of all you little punk criminals. He's more like,
he's using harsher language than that.
Some words that I'm gonna help retain the monetization.
Words that you can only hear Eggy say at 2 a.m. on a stream.
Maybe a little bit more, but Lawrence Fishburne kind of being like, total black collectivism, total black power, we need to, everything's got to be internal. We got to, have our own and build with our own and, not let anybody in because they're culture vultures. They're preying on us, taking advantage of our poor economic situation to, take the best of what we got and then use it to enrich themselves while leaving us with nothing. So you get two different kinds of ends of the spectrum there, where it's two frustrated men who seek to have a better community as an end result, but one of them is more of an iron fist and one of them is more of like a, we all got to have an iron fist and bring these fists together, raise that fist up. Our brother, you dig what I'm saying, Oh,
I'm digging
against the white man.
Well, I mean, I want to say this, also if we're going to speak on the geography where this film was located and the decades since, there's been quite a clash. in the more of a northern California, which this isn't taking place, but with the tech industry, you know, you have some interracial black and white disagreements and things where these tech people, they're getting targeted because they have, you know, nice cars, nice things in their cars. But I believe more in the geography of California where this film is located now, there's been a lot of controversy of Asian people being targeted because the Asians, they run the liquor stores, they run the fast food establishments, they own the franchise and things like that. So, you know, there's a common term said like, you know, oh, Ling Ling just got this for me. That's a street term because what that means is that they robbed a house in an Asian neighborhood for some money or property, and they say, you know, got my chain from Ling Ling, you know, and that's like got my car from Ling Ling, you know, like it's supposed to be a reference to getting money from criminalizing a Asian neighborhood because they don't bank is in a typical way. They usually keep a lot of valuables in their home to have immediate access to that physical currency or that precious metal, whatever it might be. So there's been controversy about that even just in the last few years because rappers talk about targeting Asian communities for robberies and burglaries and things. So even there, it's just, it's what it is. It's a impoverished situation. You know, you can take it how you want to, but when you wake up, you ain't got nothing to eat in the house. You know, all you hear is gunshots. You know, everybody you know is on some kind of drug, and they're beating each other's faces in all day from as soon as you know how to walk, talk, speak, and hear. You know, it's gonna. You gotta
dodge babies driving down the street.
Exactly. You know, Pimp King 1 or whatever that guy's license plate said. You know, with the fly whip, the fly ride with all the bells and whistles. You know, about to go get more rose than a thistle. You know what I'm saying? But it's out of control. But it really is. I mean, it's just trying to make sense of the chaos in the best way you can.
Was there much of an Asian angle to this movie? Did I forget something?
No, but I'm just kind of speaking on it in, you know, outside of the film, the culture in that area. I'm just kind of I'm looking at that cultural lens of how it became, maybe more even in the decades since, and kind of where it's at as far as standing today, where there's a greater Hispanic and a greater Asian presence in this geographical area, which then and how that impacts the interactions between the lower income, impoverished African American communities, and maybe some more of these other communities who have done business or got these businesses in the African American community, like what Lawrence Fishburne is mentioning in this film. We got to have all black owned businesses, but a lot of Asian and Arabic and Indian and such people tend to be opening these businesses in the black neighborhood instead.
So really his call for an ethnocentrism of the neighborhood is really out of to defend the Asian people. Okay, we don't want to be ling-linging these people anymore. Let's just keep it all black all the time.
Well, I mean, I think there's an angle there to it because, you know, maybe it's not that same kind of fast money that you could get from, you know, sticking somebody up, but at the same time, it's going to create a positive feedback loop that's going to, you know, feed into the community, and we're going to be able to, you know, then withdraw from our own, you know, we're watering our own seeds. I think that's actually a real term that gets used, you know, like we got to, you know, feed the babies, we got to water our seed, you know, so they can rise up, be stronger, you know, don't have to lean in on nobody, you know, don't got to get support from nobody else. They can do for themselves, you know what I'm saying?
Which community are we a part of that we can take advantage of in that way? That, like, we can trick people into giving us extra support?
Well, I mean, I got the virgin community behind me, you know. I don't want to say I'm tricking them. I'm saying, you know, we're on the same page, and just, you know, I did get some in my life, but, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, I feel like you almost betrayed that community by having so much Eggy sex that I don't know, we might have to find a different grift
community to
take advantage of. What about the My Pillow guy? Can we get into the pillow business? And all us pillow salesmen need to stick it out for each other.
Mike Pillow?
Pillow Liddell. All right, I think Chuck Liddell is somebody. I don't know any names that I'm saying. The centerpiece of the movie for most people is probably after Ricky is shot. There's just 15 minutes of hyper-realism of his friends and mom and baby mama and daughter reacting to his corpse on the living room couch. It's just a lot of screaming and crying, and like I said, hyper realism. If somebody's getting nominated for Oscars, it's probably for this, not for sucking dick for crack. But Erich, did you have any thoughts on this whole sequence of horrible pain and misery?
It's pretty horrifying, but it's good to like point that out, just because it's so easy to just write off these lives as worthless or not meaning anything to anyone. But it does affect people, and it does it does create hatred and pain and loss.
Well, then too, it shows, which we get a little bit of this before, like a little foreshadowing earlier in the film when Lawrence Fishburne and his son, a burglar, enters their home, and we see a little flash of him like coming in the window or whatever. Mr. Furious Styles, he pulls out that gun and shoots a couple times, scares the burglar off, and then they wait for like an hour outside for the police to show up, for them to really not care. So with Ricky being gunned down, they're not going to sit there and think, oh, we got to, let's get the cops over here. That the cops, if they show up, it's going to be like maybe the next day or something. Cops really don't care because they're just a community that they don't really want to have to deal with. If they don't have to, it's something they're not fond of.
Yeah,
so
that black cop would probably show up and just start shooting Ricky some more.
Right. And as far as like an ambulance goes, they're not gonna. They could take him into the hospital if he still had a chance to live. They could drive him there themselves, but he's dead, so they're not gonna wait for the ambulance to show up because they're gonna take probably longer even. So they just go ahead and say, all right, get him here, start getting him ready for the funeral, basically, or call. You got to call. They'll get here when they need to, and we're gonna go handle this business. We're not gonna call the police about he got shot. We're gonna go get our get back. We're gonna make it even in the streets. We ain't gonna go through the court system because that ain't gonna do nothing for anybody. And you know what? I feel like this was really this street culture and hood culture and the codes and things that were abided by these gangs. I don't know if this was really spoken on and really put to film in this kind of way, in such an understandable way, maybe prior to this film. It's something that we kind of take for granted now because, hood vlogs and all these types of things, the ongoing gang wars are so well documented, and people are making, 3-hour-long YouTube videos about it every single day, every single social media post. You get Trap Laura Rosses and Swamp Stories and all these things. But this was really such a primary exposure to this sort of environment for a lot of people that weren't from that environment, and I think it still does hold up. It's still got a lot of this, retaliatory, crab in the bucket, gang banging mentality in a lot of areas, a lot of desperation on account of poverty that fuels an envious sort of burning anger in the youth who don't have anything. They're ready to, Drizzy Drake said, my dog would do it for a Louis belt. That's all he knows. He don't know nothing else. So this sort of desperation just to go for anything better. Fraud is prevalent. Violence is prevalent. Just clawing at any semblance of something.
And the one guy trying to get out the right way with a football scholarship, he's the one who gets shot in the street.
Mm-hmm.
Football scholarships are a very realistic way for people to get out of poverty, right?
And why I'm surprised this was nominated for Best Original Screenplay, and this is a nitpick, but Eggy, you can verify this. When we get a 10-minute scene of everybody saying, yeah, the football kid, he's so good at football, he's going to go play lay football at college, he's the only one who's going to get out of the ghetto, football. Did I not say out loud, oh yeah, he's going to get killed?
Oh, you did say that.
I have a little baby, okay, this dude's not surviving. It seemed a little too obvious to me. But that's my one nitpick with the screenplay, and also that story kind of meanders in the middle for too much. But at least we got to see the crackhead with her funny baby. You guys have any final thoughts? I think I'm all out of notes on this one.
It's a pretty solid movie. I'd say that I'd be interested in seeing more of John Singleton's movies.
Go check out Too Fast, Too Furious. Good. I think it might be.
I've seen Too Fast, Too Furious, and it's not my cup of tea.
Oh, it's not a Mount Rushmore.
It realistically, at least as far as I know, depicts the situation that communities were facing in this time. Still probably largely the same, and it does it well. It creates empathy. That's what movies can be good for. So, pretty good movie.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with Jimmy a little bit. There's a couple points that I feel like maybe they're a little bit, a little rough around the edges, just a little bit in a couple sections, maybe a little bit of dialogue here or there. But overall, vastly, like 95% of the film, maybe a little even more, I would say, it's a very well made, well directed, everything's good about it. The drama really pulls you in because it's not something so crazy where I feel like I get really tapped into some experimental films and thinking something crazy is going to happen and it's got to be all wild. This is really just keeping it real from the bottom to the top, from point A to point B, start to finish. And I think it's a very gripping and unfortunately still accurate depiction of life in a ghetto, and not even just, you could really put different races in here. It's got a lot of familiarity if you just came from an environment of poverty and where it's a lot of just backstabbing and anger and, and suffering, people lashing out and, like I said, trying to figure out whatever they can just to survive.
Oh, I do want to say real quick, I feel like because the quality of the directing and the acting and all that stuff is like so high, this movie could have been much worse if that stuff was not true. Like, I think you could so easily create a really trite, really just manipulative or like not serious version of this movie, and it would be pretty reviled. It would be like the worst of the worst, but I think a lot of the intention comes through and a lot of the
authenticity
just like talent
comes
behind
through.
yeah authenticity and just talent behind the people making the movie. So
Eggy has been slowly feeding me this hood cinema, these classics, and I would say on my ranking I would have Hustle and Flow above this one because I really enjoyed that from top to bottom, and maybe I'm just more interested in them trying to make a hit rap song than whatever the characters were doing in this movie, just kind of hanging out on the porch with a wheelchair kid. But this is still very good. But if you're in the mood for some classic hood cinema, I'd say start with Hustle and Flow. Would you agree with that, Eggy?
Well, I think Hustle and Flow, what I like about Hustle and Flow maybe compared to Boyz n the Hood is that, you take Hustle and Flow, that's probably where you might see, let's say if Doughboy had continued surviving, to give him about 3 or 4 years out, where the repetition of thugging is, or pimping, whatever it might be, it's just really wearing at him, just like how the main character, our protagonist in Hustle and Flow, all that pimping stuff, it ain't really going anywhere. It's good. It's all cool when you're 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, maybe you're getting some money, you can have a nice little car going on, nice little chain going
22,
on.
23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28.
By the time you're about,
However
25,
old Cousin
26.
Joey is.
I feel like it wears thin. It ain't what it used to be. You could be, even if you're an OG, you still gotta move different. You can't really be thugging for real. You gotta be on you gotta be elevated a little bit. So it's for that reason for me, Hustle and Flow is a little grittier. It kind of pulls at you a little more. I think this is kind of like, we're here. It's a realistic, authentic scenario, and it has its emotionally gripping moments. But Hustle and Flow is almost like it keeps you on the edge of the seat a little bit more because you're trying to, this ain't no more time to play around. This is like the do or die type of moment in that movie to make things work, to get this dream cracking. But I enjoy both.
This crack dreaming.
This film, that film.
For this crack, get sucking. Go ahead, Eggy.
Films that, they got a little bit of hustle in them, they got a little bit of struggle in them, I'm hoping, I'm like, I'm at the third level. If we have like Boyz n the Hood is like level 1, then Hustle and Flow is like, there's your, all right, it's do or die. And then you got me who's like basically an old man is still like, oh, let's figure this out, we're gonna get this together. Folks, don't be Eggy Rodriguez. You know what? Be Cuba Gooding Jr., get your education and do good things from a young age instead of becoming old and decrepit.
And to lose your virginity by lying to a woman that you want to marry her because she's Catholic or something. As a lot of this movie is like Cuba Gooding Jr. lying to his dad about losing his virginity, and then like his dad gets mad at him for not wearing a condom in his fictional sex.
We've all been there.
Like, if you're lying, why not just say you wore a Jimmy, dude? But
It's
Eggy,
like getting mad on Twitter.
we watched this movie because Eggy won the bet and he chose it, and I'm here to announce now that the next movie us three review will also be an Eggy choice because he won the PCP poll with the live-action Flintstones movie.
All right. Okay. All right. I don't mind that.
Not even Viva Las... What's it called? Viva Las Rock Vegas? Is that the
Viva
sequel?
Rock Vegas. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe we'll get to the sequel next after that one.
That's right. I need a palate cleanser from this objectively enjoyable film. Flintstones, meet the Flintstones. They're a poorly scoring family.
From the
scoring.
city of LA.
Town of Springfield.
And they might be eating someone's pet.
They're eating the dinosaurs. They're eating the saber-toothed tigers.
They're eating the dinos. They're eating the saber-tooth cat.
3 years, you're still jumping off the back of this dinosaur. It's out of control. I don't know what's going on.
They're saying yabba. They're saying dabba. They're saying do. Erich, do you have anything you want to plug?
You can find me on Blue Sky. I have left Twitter, quote unquote.
Boo.
I'm sorry, left X, the everything app. And I don't think I'll be coming back. I just think it's gotten to a point where I don't want to be around there anymore.
So you've reduced your chances of Barack Obama seeing one of your thoughts from 0.01% to just 0.
0.00%. That's right.
Can you? Is he on Blue Sky? Can you ask him to follow you there too? Be like, hey, you got me on Twitter. Come on over.
Let me search.
I heard the
Barack
politicians
Hussein Obama.
Politicians are not moving over there, you said?
I don't see Barack Obama. I do see obama.scamming.online. That could be him.
That's pretty much what the Affordable Care Act website was.
Oh man, this guy's cover photo is Trump in the crosshairs of a gun.
Ah!
What the?
Hey, he's been in that situation before.
That is actually Obama's real account. That's his real account.
The killer took a picture through the scope and uploaded it right before they blasted his brains open.
Well, I saw this informative documentary called The New Norm where Hillary Clinton is actually that person. So, Obama does hang out with her a lot, so he probably did take the picture.
Doesn't that documentary end with a transgender person flying a spaceship, landing in Putin's Russian mansion and killing him?
To be honest,
trans hero.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty heroic.
Mm-hmm.
Most Austrians would agree. Eggy, what do you want to plug?
Well, you know what? Obviously, first and foremost, rumble.com/c/Eggy White. However, I did upload the new Eggy Foods video to my first ever YouTube channel, youtube.com/@YokerII, which would be Yoker 2 when you look at it. I did that. I posted it there because now I've generated enough watch hours instantly from this 30-minute video to where that account can go live.
Oh, wow.
And there's a lot of people on YouTube saying they don't want to use anything besides YouTube. So I do enjoy Rumble much more than YouTube. And also I'm actually monetized on Rumble, so I'm going to keep using Rumble. However, sometime in the next couple days here, I'm going to go live on that YouTube account just to say hi to everybody who never came over to Rumble, because I know there's a lot of them, and I want to just, see if there's anything interesting in my viewer base, any new developments of sorts that anyone wants to tell me about. Just say hi and everything. So, Yoker II, your youtube.com/@YokerII.
You're a joker. You're a yoker. You're a midnight toker.
I'll just say this much: when I performed at the titular Doomer Fest 2 years ago, they introduced me as Yoker. Because I said, when you bring me out, can you introduce me as Yoker?
Yeah.
And they did, and it stuck with me.
And the audience got what they fucking deserved. A great show.
Mm-hmm.
And also a lot of death threats, but that was mostly the venue. It is what it is.
Well, we've been the Boys in the Hood, folks. We'll see you for Flintstones later this month. Peace, people.
Adios.
Peace.